So before we get into any tips or any lessons, let's just flat out answer the question. Do I need certification to begin work as a doula? Short answer is no. There is no federal or national bodies that actually govern us as doulas, right? And it is something that you can just jump into today if you wanted to, right? Unlike being a physician or being a nurse, there aren't any requirements that say you have to go to school for this amount of time and these are the approved organizations that you can go to school with. You have to take an exam. You have to have a license. You have to do certain things in order to keep up with this license. We're creating the standards of practice. We're also requiring this or that as far as rules and laws that will be enforced if you break them, right? So as of right now, we don't have that in the doula industry. But since 2020, with the global pandemic, there have been instances where hospitals, insurance companies, and insurance benefit companies have come in and said that, hey, you need to be certified, right? And so if people want to use insurance in order to be reimbursed for doula services, which is becoming more and more popular and a lot of people do, then they have to do business with a doula who is trained and also certified, can prove that certification, and then they have to submit that to their insurance company or their benefit company in order to receive that reimbursement. Also, during the global pandemic, which hopefully at this time of this video is far, far behind us and hopefully won't happen again. But during the global pandemic, there was a whole thing where if you were an expecting person going into a hospital, you had to come alone. You could not come with any partner or any family member. Then the rules got kind of a little bit less stringent where you could come with a partner and one support person. And if that support person was a doula, they had to be certified and present certification to prove that they were certified in order to accompany you as their client. So there have been many situations and there are increasing number of opportunities for certified doulas, which can increase their earning potential and also the partners that they are able to collaborate with. As well as doula agencies, a lot of them are local, and so they will require certification in order to work for the agency, and a lot of their clients may want certified doulas as well, which goes back to being reimbursed through insurance. So certification is not required, but it is highly, highly, highly recommended, right? So with that being said, if you do want to pursue certification, then let's go ahead and get into tips. So I do have a few tips for you as you begin the certification process. It can be overwhelming, and that's why my first tip is to start with the end in mind, right? So know where you want to go, where you want to end up, who you want to work with, and where you plan on working, right? So if you are in a state where you want to work with an agency, then great. You have an agency local and you can reach out to that agency to say, hey, what are the certification organizations that you guys accept from independent contractors that want to work with you, right? So that makes it very simple. They can give you a list and you know what your options are. You can also do this for insurance companies. You could always look up the insurance companies. They have this information on their website to say, hey, do you have doula reimbursement? And if you do, what certification organizations do you work with as far as doula support goes? And they'll have a list of like 5 to 10 different agencies, which will help you to narrow your search down. You can also think about the place that you want to work, meaning do you want to work online with clients or at the bedside in your local area? If you want to work in your local area, then you can look to see if there are state regulations, guidelines, or things that you would have to complete in order to work in that state. For instance, in the state of Pennsylvania, they now have enacted a rule, maybe in the last year or two, where you do have to have a license from the state of Pennsylvania to work in that state as a birth worker. So you can look that up and find out what in the world does that mean. Who do I have to go through for certification? How much does it cost? What are the requirements to remain certified by the state? So on and so forth, right? So Starting with the end in mind will definitely narrow down your certification and your training options, and that will help make the growing list that is out there on the internet a whole lot smaller. The second tip that I want to give you is to actually reach out to local doulas. So even though you haven't started the training and certification process yet, you can still go to local doula meetups, hang out with the doulas, get to know them and ask them questions. And they can also spill a lot of tea and give you a lot of clarity about things that are coming down the line, things that are already in place, what certification and training organizations they've taken, what their experience has been, what insurance companies they've worked with, agencies they've contracted with. It's so much knowledge and information in your local doula community. And so going to a meetup is free. It just costs you a little bit of time. We hang out at night, during the morning, during the afternoon. Like there's so many different times that we have meetups, and that could be a great place to connect with someone and ask some great questions that will give you clarity about what's the next step you should take on your certification journey. All right. So the other thing that I want to bring up is that I think you should definitely add up the costs before moving forward. And there are some obvious costs and then some hidden costs. So let's talk about that. So the actual price of certification is going to be encompassed by a few different things, right? So training. If you're attending an in-person training, there may be a price. Sometimes it's as little as like $600. Sometimes it's as much as a couple $1,000s plus for becoming a doula, depending on the organization, how long the training and certification process is, so on and so forth, right? So counting up that cost. Also, do you have to take additional classes and training, right? Do I have to take a lactation class or a birth education class or even CPR, right? So counting up all the additional training that you need to do. Also, are they requiring you to buy books and write summaries as well as attract clients, right? So then that would get into, okay, on Amazon, let me add these books to my cart, or thrift books, or let me check my local library app that has the Audible books on there for free to see if I can get some of these at no cost. And as far as putting myself out there and marketing myself as a doula and attracting those clients, what is that going to cost me? So just making sure that you comb through the training and certification process and see what the steps are. In every place where you think there might be a cost or an expense, finding out what that may be and adding that up so you know the total. And then, is this organization going to charge me yearly to maintain this certification, right? So some people have it where you go through training and certification one time, it's just that one cost and you're certified for life. And then some people have it where you have to renew every single year. So if they do have a yearly renewal, what is that cost? So you can anticipate that to maintain the certification. And as far as continuing education, what does that cost as well, right? So make sure that you start with the end in mind. Reach out to local doulas in the area so you can get some tea and some insight. Also, you want to make sure that you are adding up the cost, right? I also want to make sure that you are thoroughly comparing your different certification options as far as what are their standards of practice. Are they online or in person? And does this match the way that I want to work as a doula? If you want to work online as a doula, I think an online training and certification process is excellent. If you want to work in person as a doula, I think that your local doula community and network is absolutely invaluable. You want to connect with them as soon as possible, and you want to stay connected with them. So if you want to work in person as a doula in your local community, I would advise to attend a training that is also in person in your local community. You will start to build your network, start to build your village, and you'll be able to find backup doulas and mentors. And that's very important as you begin your journey, right? And then my last tip is to train, right? To actually enjoy your training, to actually go into it wholeheartedly. Make sure you have the mental capacity, the emotional capacity, the physical time, right, to really devote to it, because it is a time commitment. And we can't tell you how long the time will be because the time is totally dependent on you and how long it takes you to get through each piece of it, right? So those are my tips for starting to begin the certification process as a brand new doula. Now let's go into some of the lessons that I've learned. Lesson one that I've learned is that the training and certification process does not come with a mentor, and it is highly, highly, highly recommended that you actually find someone to be your mentor and pay them to be your mentor if that's what it takes, and coach, and to keep that mentor for at least the first year of your journey. Let me explain why. I really do think that in the beginning of anything new, your mind will start to play tricks on you, right? Because you have not stepped into this new identity of a doula yet, but you are becoming a doula, right? So you are starting to take on the new identity, and you will start to play in your mind like, oh, should I really do this? Is it really going to be worth it? Am I really capable? My family isn't supporting me. My friends don't support me. Oh, I got a rejection or a no, or somebody said something negative, and now I want to retreat back, right? It's going to be very easy for you to want to protect yourself mentally and emotionally from stepping into this new identity. And you will try to sabotage yourself, right? And you will look for all the evidence in the world that like you're on the wrong path or this isn't the right way. Your brain will try to protect you, all of those things. And so to make sure that you move forward, I would say to make a commitment at the very beginning that you're going to give this a year, to hire a coach or a mentor that you can talk to and that can support you throughout. Because unfortunately, a lot of times the training and certification package that you buy does not come with mentorship. And so your facilitator or your trainer who you see who is giving you all of this knowledge and information is typically not going to be available for continued support and mentorship. And in those lonely places where you're by yourself, that's when it's easy to quit and turn around, right? So add a mentor or a coach, find that person first, even before training and certification, I would say, and hire that person immediately. Keep them for a year and make sure that they are with you throughout the process. I also too think that lesson number 2 would be accountability, like online and offline accountability is totally fine, but having a partner who you can go through the certification process with, right? Sometimes you have to go to additional classes, read books, support clients. There are so many places where it's great to be able to text somebody or call somebody or hop on a quick Zoom to work through things or get clarity or insight, quickly move through a roadblock that can help you finish certification and training much faster than if you were to do it alone, right? Things come up in life. Life gets busy. We have partners. We have children. We have jobs. We're in school pursuing other things outside of doula work. And so just having that person that you can Voxer with or Zoom with or send a quick text message with, have working sessions on Zoom where maybe everybody's just quiet and working through certification, but knowing that you're going to log in on that day and that time just keeps you so much more accountable to the goal and what you said you were going to finish. So accountability online and offline as a certification cohort in a group of people going through the same training, the same requirements at the same time can be absolutely invaluable. And I really wish that I would have done that during my training and certification processes. All right, so number 3, I definitely want to make sure that everybody knows this lesson, which is that it can be a trap to start certification and training and then feel like you want to take other certifications and trainings because you're new, right? And it's uncomfortable being in an industry where you're brand new, you're just learning, and you feel like, oh, if I take this training and this training and this training and the 88th training, then I'll feel more confident. And sometimes confidence just comes from doing. Yes, you have taken one training. Will that be enough to sustain you throughout your whole doula career? No. Is it enough to get started right now? Absolutely. So just get started, right? Don't fall into the trap of buying training after training after training after training after training, and now you're a birth doula, a postpartum doula, a fertility doula. You also are a lactation specialist and a sleep specialist, and there are so many things that you have got trained in that people are so confused about what you even do, what they should pay you for, what you can help them with. You're confused on what to lead with, and even though you may feel like you know a lot, you're still disappointed because you're not serving, which was the point in the first place, right? So the initial training that you have, I know it doesn't feel like it, but it is 99.9% of the time enough to get started supporting your community right now, okay? So don't add anything else to it. Just get started and get serving.